In this next Photoshop activity, we're going to take two photographs, the mountain meadow, and if I hold down the Shift key and click the two guys, I'm going to open up both those photographs and drag them into Photoshop again. And now I've got these two pictures. And what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be bringing these two people, Mr. Allard and Mr. Hurley, into the mountain meadow. Okay, and the way we're going to do that is simply by cutting and pasting. So let's start with Mr. Allard. Okay, and I just want you to do a rough selection like this. You don't have to be perfect, just around like that, and obviously it's leaving a lot in there, but we're just going to do an edit copy, and then we're going to go back to the mountain meadow, and we're going to go edit paste. Notice he's quite large there. Now I can do a Command 0 just to fill up the screen here. And it doesn't look very realistic. So we're going to make the adjustments here, and this is about masking. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to move him over a bit. I'm going to put him about here, and then I'm going to add what's called a layer mask. So if you look down on your layers here, I'm just going to name the layer Mr. Allard, and I'm going to add what's called a layer mask. So I'm going to click here. Okay, and you notice that I've got two different boxes now on this layer. Now I'm going to see if I can zoom in a touch on this. Okay, there we go. Hopefully you can still see that. Okay, and what's happened is I have a very large, I have a square here, and I have the actual picture here. If I click on the picture, you notice that these lines come around this photograph. And if I did an adjustment at this point in the actual picture, and I was actually on this picture, and say I decide to paint with a particular color, in this case I'm going to paint with black because it's on black, and if I start painting, I'd literally paint black all over the picture. Okay, but that isn't what I want to do. So if I go to my history here, and I take a step back, it takes away that brush tool. What I want to do though is I want to actually paint on the layer mask, which is this one. And now that I have the four lines around these corners, I'm actually on the layer mask. One other note is this this chain here. It links this layer mask to this so that the layer mask is always in the same location all the time. If you accidentally click this and remove it, just click back and it'll bring back the chain. Okay, I'm just going to go back. Now if I paint with black but I'm on the layer mask, watch what happens. Okay, and I'm just going to show you some adjustments here. The size, and obviously in case the size of the circle, the hardness actually indicates how hard the edge is going to be. And I don't want it too hard because I want it to be more airbrush-like. So now if I start painting with this, you notice what happens. If you paint black on the mask, it actually makes the layer transparent. Okay, so that's what I'm doing here. And since I have a fairly large circle, I'm just doing that. Now, to do a really good layer mask, what you do is you constantly make the circle smaller and zoom in more. And so what I do is, oops, I'm zooming in, just move over a touch, and now I can use this to actually get in a bit closer. And I'm just going to do a rough one just to show you. Now I'd make the circle even smaller, stay at the zoom level. And then I would go in even closer and zoom in. And this is a very low resolution photograph, so we are doing a decent job here as we get Mr. Allard here masked out beautifully. And there we go. Okay, so we would do that, and let me just go back to Command 0. And we would continue that. Now right now I'm just going to do a rough selection so you can get an idea how this works. So I'm just going to go around just so you get an idea. And I'm going to make a huge error in a moment. There we go, and in there, and just go up. Okay, let's make the huge error there. There we go. And there's a huge error where we took out his arm. Now, obviously, what are we going to do? We removed his arm. Well, we didn't actually. All we did was we masked it. So, if we flip from black to white, and I paint white on my layer mask, I can bring back his whole arm. There we go. Okay, and the same goes for down here. If I went and I did this, oop, that was obviously a very rough selection between his legs, but if I go like this and bring back those portions of his legs, it actually makes it a lot easier to adjust this way. There we go. Okay, and now, although it's still, this is very rough because you see I've got a soft edge here that I'd have to fix up and soft edges along here. If I made the circles smaller, I could do a much better job. Now, the other thing I want to show you, I'm just moved to the move tool here. I'm going to place him about here. And this actually looks kind of fake because his feet are standing on top of flowers. So what we do is we actually mask over top of his feet to make it look like his feet are going under the flowers. And there we go. So it makes it look like he's actually integrated into the picture. Okay. Now the next step will be to bring Mr. Hurley in, and I'll leave that up to you.